your name, the mountains shake and crumble. At your name, the oceans roar and tumble. At your name, angels will bow, the earth will rejoice, your people cry out. Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout your name, oh Lord. At your name, the morning breaks in glory. At your name, creation sings your story. At your name, angels will bow, the earth will rejoice, your people cry out. Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout your name, oh Lord. There is no one like our God, we will praise you, there's no one like our God, we will sing, there is no one like our God, we will praise you, there's no one like our God, we will sing, there is no one like our God, we will praise you, Jesus, you are God, we will sing. Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout your name, oh Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout your name, oh Lord.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Eric. Many of you probably already know that because you've been tuning in to Community Church in Lexington, North Carolina. I want to give you some good news and great news today. But first I'd like to ask you to like and share this service on Facebook or social media, wherever you might be, and let other people know that we're here. Next week, we're not going to be doing church like this next Sunday morning because, as I told you last week, we're starting a new chapter. Community Church has a new location, and we're in it for the time being, but we're hoping that that might be our home base for years to come. And it's the Cinema 8 Theaters at 235 North Talbot Boulevard in Lexington. And I'd love to have you come out and just check it out. I was talking with my wife Jackie last night, and since Community Church started almost 23 years ago, we've proven you can do church in a lot of different places. A YMCA banquet room, a high school auditorium, a textile factory, a children's home, a field. And now I think we're going to prove that you can do church in a movie theater. And it's going to be great. Next Sunday morning, we're going to do two services, one at 9 and one at 10:30. And here's what we'd like to ask you to do, because we are going to be in person. We'll also be doing the live stream. So if you feel uncomfortable coming together in person or you're not feeling well, then just stay online. But if you're ready to get out and get involved, we're going to do a 9 o'clock and a 10:30 service at the theater. And here's what we'd like for you to do. We'd like for you to go to The Realm, which if you're listening here, you have access to that, or at least you have access to Facebook and social media. But if you're involved with The Realm at Community Church, we'd like for you to go to that this week, and we'd like for you to register how many people that will be coming from your family, or how many people you've invited from your set of friends, because we are going to have to make some adjustments as we try to do the correct social distancing thing. So register all that you can, all that you know might even be there for the next few weeks. Because of the construction and the COVID, we have one theater available to us now. We weren't able to get all 8 theaters ready in the time that we've had, but we have one theater available to us for now, and we believe that with 2 services we'll have plenty of room for you to distance yourself and still be involved in a great worship experience. If we need a 3rd service or a 4th service, we'll certainly let you know. But our plan is to continue to add theaters as we get back in person. So if that was, just go to Facebook if you can, and you'll see all that you need to know about signing up. Okay, let me get into the message. You hear the word narrative spoken a lot today. What's that group's narrative? What's that person's narrative? And a narrative is simply a story that someone wants you to know about themselves or their groups. All groups have a narrative. They want you to buy into their philosophy of life, their religious beliefs, their movement, something like that. So everybody has a narrative. Black Lives Matter, they have a particular narrative that they believe in, they would like for you to buy into as well. But they're not the only ones. Sons of Confederacy, they have a particular narrative that they would like for you to buy into. The government, they have a narrative. The medical profession right now, with all of the things that are happening, they're kind of cobbling together, best they can, a narrative that they want Americans to buy into. It happens everywhere. Democrat, Republican, capitalist, socialist, communist, liberal, progressive, conservative, has a narrative, a story. And they all want you to buy it. They all want you to join their narrative. And here's what I found to be generally true. All of these groups and their narrative get some things right. And all of them get some things wrong. But what about the narrative that's most important to the church, the follower of Jesus? What about the narrative of Jesus in the gospel? All these other human narratives, they have some right, they have some wrong. But what about the narrative of Jesus? Is there some right and wrong in his narrative? I want to tell you, no. Because even the most casual Bible reader, even a person who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus, if they read Matthew 5 through 7 that we're talking about now, the Sermon on the Mount, even an unbeliever would read those words and say, they're pretty good. There's nothing bad, there's nothing negative in what this man Jesus is asking his followers to do. So the narrative of Jesus in the gospel, it's just right. It's always for the benefit of someone else. So I'm going to talk to you today in Matthew chapter 5, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Jesus gives us a narrative in the Sermon on the Mount. He wants you to buy it. He wants you to believe in it. And basically what he's saying in this narrative, he makes it very clear. He says, if you're going to follow him, which is your choice, he doesn't force anyone to follow him. He says, if you're going to follow him, you have to live a different way from the world. You have to. And the world should notice that you're living a different way. As Christ followers, we're held to a higher standard than the rest of the world. And we hold ourselves to that standard. We have a standard of love and selflessness that should be above any other standard that you'd ever see in the world today. Our standard is not a gotcha standard. And you probably know what I mean by that. Look at what that person did. That person's worse than I am, and they call themselves Christian, and they're acting like this. And gotcha. Now, that's not the standard of Christ. The standard of Christ is this. It's where my rights and my privileges are secondary to yours. I want you to hear that. My rights and my privileges take second place to yours. You think following Christ is easy? You try that one on for size. Following Jesus is a radical departure from what the world teaches and what the world practices. It is radically different. So let me show you what happens in Matthew 5. When you take on the privileges, when you accept the privileges, you remember red, yellow, black, and white, everybody gets the same privileges in Jesus. When you take those on that I talked to you about last week in Matthew 5, verses 1 through 12. Now, if you need a review of that, they're called the Beatitudes, the Supreme Blessings. You can go back and review that message or just read them, Matthew 5, 1 through 12. But look today with me to Matthew 5, verse 13. Jesus said to his followers, "You are the salt for everyone on earth. But if salt no longer tastes like salt, how can it make food salty?" That's important. All it's good for is to be thrown out and walked on. Now listen to what Jesus said. You are salt for everyone on earth. Now I can tell you the earth is a big place. And probably, you may become an international person that people will listen to. Probably not. None of us will. Our mission fields are just different than everybody else. Our mission field, like Billy Graham, his mission field was to millions. And he was able to speak to millions of people. They're pastors and communicators around the world. Their mission it's to hundreds of thousands. Some of us who preach online every week, our mission would be to thousands. Some to hundreds, some to tens. But everybody has a mission field, and if nothing else, your mission field is at least your home or your classroom or your work. That's a mission field. May only have a few people in it, but that's the field. I heard a speaker say a couple of weeks ago this, and I believe that it's true. He said, God is not interested in you going to the other side of the world until you are willing to walk across the street. All he was doing was telling us Acts chapter 1. Jesus said, you'll be my witnesses, but he said it'll start in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. What that meant was your mission will start locally. Wherever you live, your mission starts locally. It starts in your home, starts in your church, starts in your business, starts in your school. Your mission field. Everybody has one. Now the point Jesus is trying to make is this. No matter how big your mission field is, you have some influence in this world. Christ followers do. If you say you're a believer, somebody's watching you. It may be hundreds of thousands. It may be just a handful, but somebody's watching you. And what they're wondering is, are you going to be different because you say you have Jesus in your life? And that's up to you. Jesus said, if you're my follower, you'll be like salt. Well, what does that mean? Salt adds flavor, and salt is a preservative. But honestly, if you do the study on this verse, we don't understand salt like they did when Jesus first spoke this 2,000 years ago. Because to us, we go to the store and we spend a couple bucks and we get salt. Not so much when Jesus was walking the earth. Salt was kind of a precious commodity. People would use it in a spiritual way in spiritual services. And even the Roman government would sometimes partially pay their soldiers with salt. It was that valuable, and came the phrase from that, if a soldier wasn't any good, they would say that soldier was not worth his salt. That's where that comes from. That's how valuable salt was. Jesus expects his followers today to be worth our salt. Okay, salt brings flavor. But think about it. If salt's going to work, it has to come in contact with the food. You can't stay in the shaker and be any good. Let me tell you something. Online church is not fun. It might be fun for you. You might be used to it. But I'm telling you, from this side of the camera, online church, it's not fun. A month or so ago, Community Church, we left the online and we went live. We went out in the field. We knew we had plenty of distance from each other, and we were following all the mandates, but we went out in the field. And right after the service, I start getting pictures of myself on social media, and people were saying, "What made you so happy?" I looked at the pictures. I was even surprised. I'm not a big smiler, which I don't have to tell you that, but I was grinning ear to ear. What was going on? The same thing with a lot of you. As we came together, there was more happiness in that field, I'm telling you, than I've seen in the church for a long time. But then because of some mandates, we went back online. And it's not fun. The reason in person is fun is very simple. If you're salt, Jesus said your life is supposed to be salty. It's supposed to add flavor. And the only way to do that is to contact, not left in the shaker. So that's why next weekend we're going to be in person. It's not going to be in a field. It's going to be in a movie theater. Imagine that. But that doesn't surprise those of you who've been a part of community for a long time. Now listen, we're going to take every precaution we know of. We've been working on that. We've had volunteers. We've had over 100 hours of cleaning in that building already. I mean, they are getting it medically prepared for you. We're going to take every precaution we know of. If you still have discomfort being in person, if you're not feeling well, catch us online. We'll have the online service going from the theater next weekend. We're going to social distance. That's not a problem in a theater as large as that and with multiple services. Listen, wearing a mask is not a sin. It's not. And we'll have those available for you if you'd like them. But I want you to hear me very carefully. If people continue to hide from each other, whether it be mandated or suggested or just a feeling inside of yourself. If people keep hiding from each other, so scared of getting sick, I'm telling you, at some point, the cure will be worse than the disease. That's just not something that I came up with. That's biblical. It's absolutely biblical. Because you're already feeling it. The longer you're away from people, the easier it becomes to stay away from people. You know, God created the heavens and the earth. You can read that in Genesis. And He worked for 6 days and He rested on the seventh. And for 6 days, every time He created something, at the end of the day, God would look at what He created and He said, "That is good." And then He created human beings and He said, "That is very good." And the first thing in recorded history that God in heaven said is not good is that a human being would be alone. He said, "That's not good. It is not good for a man, a woman, or a child to be alone." And what have we done? We've separated from each other. I understand medically why that happens, but I think Satan is having a field day with it, because the longer he keeps us from each other, the easier it will be to stay away from each other. And we just, no, it's time. Because if we're salt, and it's not good that people be alone. If we're salt, we have to come in contact with the food. We have to come in contact with people. See, Jesus said, you are to be salt in the lives of others. You're to help bring flavor to their lives. You're to show them there is just a better way to live. So here's what I know. If followers of Jesus, if closeness, are we going to be criticized for that? Yes. Yep. If followers of Jesus, if we decide we're going to stay away from people, are we going to get criticized for that? Yes. If Christ's followers stay silent about all of the worldly issues that are going on, will we be criticized for our silence? Yes. If Christ's followers speak biblically to all of the world's issues that are going on, are we going to be criticized for that? Yes. I mean, listen, if we say we follow Jesus and we're just breathing air and walking upright, are we going to be criticized for that? Yes. But listen, criticism, it's a win for the Jesus follower. It's a win. Look with me to Matthew 5 that we read last week. Verses 10 through 12. God blesses those who are treated badly for doing the right thing. He blesses those who are treated badly. They belong to the kingdom of heaven. Verse 11. God will bless you when people insult you. Bring it on. The more insults, the more blessings from God. He will bless you when people insult you, even when people mistreat you, and they tell all kind of evil lies about you because of me. He said, be happy, be excited. You'll have great reward in heaven. People did the same thing to the prophets who lived long ago. So criticized. Yeah. We get a bad post. Bring it on. Because the more of that, the greater the blessings. See, the more you trust God, and the more you follow the teachings of Jesus, I'm telling you, even in the midst of criticism, even in the midst of storms, when you follow the words of Jesus, you'll have peace. You will. Because you will know you've done what God's asking you to do. Now look at Matthew 5:14. You're the light for the whole world. Now you're salt and you're light. Jesus said a city built on a hill can't be hidden. No one puts a lamp under a clay pot. Instead, it's put on a lampstand where it can give light to everyone in the house. So make your light shine so others will see the good you do and will praise your Father in heaven. Okay, Christ followers. Jesus is pounding on the fact in this, if you're going to claim Him, if you're going to be His disciple, you're the light of the world. You're the answer because you have the answer, and the answer is Him. Jesus could have said, if you're going to follow me, you're the light of the church. And then all we'd have had to do is keep our act together when we're around church. And a lot of people do that. Don't be like that, because that's not what He said. Jesus wants you to be light to the world. Think about it. Where are the only places that really need light? It's dark places. Light places don't need light, dark places do. And you know where some of these places are right now. You know. So you're the answer. What you know about Jesus and how you follow Jesus, you're the answer. I read a quote this week that was just amazing from probably the second greatest sermon ever preached. And the quote's this: darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And we're both. We're light. We're supposed to be loving. And those words aren't mine, by the way. They're Martin Luther King's. Pretty good preacher. So, Christ followers, what are you going to do? You're going to keep fighting the world's darkness on the world's turf? You know, I'll answer that post. Yeah, I feel better now. You're just fighting darkness with darkness. If you use the world's methods, you're fighting darkness with darkness. See, the world, it can't offer light. It can't. Because it doesn't know the light. People without Christ, they don't know the light. So they can't give something that they don't have. They're not looking for the light. So they can't give the light. So what I'm asking you to do today is to stop playing the world's game. Stop it today. Stop it right now. Stop fighting by the world's rules. You'll never win that way. Stop getting sucked into the world's way. You'll never win that way. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to do the same thing Jesus is not asking you to do. So don't do these things. Jesus is not asking you to fight. He's not. He's not asking you to feud or debate or hate. Jesus is not asking you to post or to picket or to protest or to burn or destroy. Jesus is not asking you, Christ follower, to do any of those things. But what He is asking you to do is be salt and be light. Don't hide your light. That's all He's asking you to do. Do good for people. Your rights and your privileges become secondary to others, even some that you don't like. You take a step back and you be Jesus to these people. You be Jesus to the world. Jesus said, do good. Do good, and people will recognize it. And some will actually praise God for what they see you do. It's a win-win. So stop fighting the way the world fights. And start loving and start serving and start living the way Jesus did. Well, that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. Let me pray for you, and then hopefully we'll see a lot of you next week in person at the movies. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you for this message. Thank you for the ability to continue to do church in a trying time. But thank you more than that when you tell us to be salt, that we understand salt has to connect with food for it to work. So we're going to connect with one another in person at Community Church. We're going to try and follow all of the mandates. But we're going to be your salt and light to a dark and a tasteless world. For even though the world may never know you, we do, and we know what to do with you. So thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, see y'all next week.